You are. Okay, being 5:15, I call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Please rise for this Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call has been taken.
Yes.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda. Second.
Okay, motion has been made by John, seconded by Tim. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I'd entertain a motion to approve the April 22nd.
Make a motion to approve the April 22nd. Second.
Okay, motion made by Bill, second by Colton to approve the April 22nd meeting minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, minutes are approved. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? Public comment. Hearing none. Let's move on to the project update and a request for a development agreement timeline amendment with Deer Wolf Garden LLC.
All right, we'll kick that off. We've invited Kim Todas from Deer Wolf Garten. Actually, I spelled that wrong. It should be Garten. I just saw that now. But we invited Kim to kind of give us an update, and Kim and I have been talking about it a little bit, and they've got a request to kind of adjust the timeline. So, Kim, if you want to just come up to the front in the circle, and then we can get you on camera and go ahead and give us an update and let us know where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are really excited. We have all of the details and everything signed with the contractor. We are almost done with that. We were almost done with the financials, and then my father-in-law, who is our project manager, Dave has been very big on this project. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he's going through treatments. He is in the final stages of the treatment process, and so we were looking to be able to extend the project so that it would start closer to the end of August, have most of the outside of the building done by the time we have frost, be able to work on the inside, have the electrical, plumbing, and stuff like that being worked on during the winter as they're able to, and then be able to have it open and ready to go for the spring, summer season next year. So our timeline just got pushed back a little bit with a little bit of a wrench thrown in, yeah, so we're just looking for an extension to be able to have progress on the property start a little bit later.
All right. Any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, anybody have any other questions for Kim regarding what we're looking for? Or what she's looking for? Okay, no questions. Do we have that?
So I had the opportunity to draft up a amendment to the development agreement that we currently have. I sent this over to Stegbauer. He gave the thumbs up this morning on this, but it basically, and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I got from our conversations, we're going to look at the substantial completion. It was December 31st of 2025. The amendment would change that to July 1st, 2026, if that's still what you're looking at doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
And then I think there were some other things. Let's see. We're just saying that construction would begin by December 31st, 2025. And I think there were some other areas where it talked about July 1st, 2026, and I just made those changes in here. So these would be the amendment items to the current development agreement that we have set up with Deer Wolf Garden. So if you're cool with this, then I would suggest if the committee's in agreement, then this would go to a council for consideration.
Okay. Any other questions?
So what did we move back?
So the original development agreement talked about substantial completion would be at the end of this year, December 31st, 2025. Kim's asking to push back substantial completion of her project to July 1st, 2026. And then we're just saying that, I think the original talked about starting by July 1st or something this year. So we are changing that, to propose that substantial construction would begin no later than December 31st, 2025.
That's what I was getting at. I didn't know if we were giving enough on the front end. I knew we were giving on the back end, so we're moving the front.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the amendment to
Second.
new terms.
Okay. So we have a motion to accept the new amendment to the developers agreement from Bill, a second by April. Do we have any further discussion? I just want to say, just let Dave know we're all thinking about him and wishing him well. Okay. Hearing no other discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And that'll be sent to the next council meeting.
Fabulous. Okay. So we would like to now review the UW student capstone placemaking project.
Yeah, as everybody remembers, we had a student, his name was Milo, with a UW student. He was working on a landscaping design, architectural capstone project for his degree. And then he did finish his project, and I'm gonna kind of kick it over to Ginger to talk about the project. So he finished up at the end of this year. I'm assuming he passed. Didn't
Yep,
hear anything on that. So
He graduated, so it was approved by his faculty member. So I can just go through a little bit of it. It should have been in all of your packets. Obviously, I did not write this, so I'm not fluent in it enough, but we can just go through and take a look at it. So let's just see, he just went through acknowledgements and how he was working with us, and he appreciated the opportunity to take the time to go over everything with Chad and I and the committees. So here, just kind of going through an overview of what he focused on, connecting the two central bridges, the Pearl Street and Shawano Street Bridge, connecting the broader New London community, the heart of the downtown, North Water Street. So this document will explore the potential ways to preserve the historic characteristics while implementing communal amenities, and that's kind of what we were looking for, how we can the whole placemaking tagline that we've all become familiar with, but also enhancing existing environmental assets that the Wolf River has, including focusing on evolution and growth, which is obviously this committee's focal point. So this is Milo. Some of you have met him. Just goes through the contents, just some meat and potatoes of the actual project. And then just an introduction. How he came apart into this, ideas of placemaking with historical preservation. That was kind of based off of discussions that we had with him during the day that he was here, knowing that the community is built with a lot of history in it and that we want to preserve it. It was helpful that he was able to speak with Christine Cross of the museum to get an idea of that. You'll see that more in his project. The idea is that he'll design solutions to enhance both the aesthetic and functional value of public spaces in New London. This just kind of goes through how he went about that and the project workflow of his final piece. timeline and such. Obviously, the introduction of the program context and where we're at. The project type is a downtown open space plan. So as some of you have heard, we're doing a comprehensive outdoor plan. This is kind of a similar thing, but just a micro to that, with just the small area of the downtown that we're looking at with this project. This is more of that historical piece that he was looking to preserve throughout the downtown, just giving some history of the city of New London. He did his research, also with the help of Christine, of course, and her documents. So a lot of interesting stuff here. I encourage you all to actually look through this document in detail just to see the research that he did for the city. This is the Great Fire. He was very interested when we did the walking tour. He was very interested in this and went into further research with it. Okay. So then we go into the project goals, kind of an intro to it. Start always with kind of, we wanted what we want. We wanted to create a public green space, improve local nature and connectivity for the pedestrians, and then preserve and highlight historical character and identity. You always start with your project concerns and what could hold you back. He noticed the devoid of the vacant lot between the two businesses at Longevity and the Wolf River Pub. And then the Riverwalk that kind of just sits in between the two bridges, and then just old buildings that needed some love. So some things that he thought would be helpful to create elements within the city that could make that devoid more aesthetically pleasing included a Riverwalk bridge, trying to get from Shawano Street to Pearl Street, enhancing the natural asset of a walk-through bridge would pull the Riverwalk together really nicely. He mentions pocket parks a lot throughout this, and that's something that I'll be talking about a lot in the next couple of years. You'll be hearing me state that a lot within the Parks and Recreation Committee, because we've got some small parks downtown that I'd like to make more aesthetically pleasing. Of course, the historical celebration. We have a couple plaques downtown that I think that people don't even realize are there. One on the corner by Old City Hall Square, or Anchor Park as some call it. And then including the public art, an expansive Riverwalk trail. So he was also very encouraged by the sculpture trail conversations that we're having right now with the Wolf River Art League. So he wanted to include that within the project. It's a nice little picture of the people enjoying the river somewhere. It's not here, but okay. So then we move forward to how and this is really interesting. These are just things that he read that helped him come up with all of these conclusions, what he learns about in school, apparently. So very interesting to come to conclusions of what type of project he wanted to do. The professional focus of this project, which he gained through this committee and the Parks and Recreation Committee, and limitations that he may come across, subsurface infrastructure and municipal zoning laws and things like that. So just kind of then went through kind of the fun part of his study, was just looking for places that that would inspire. And he went locally, nationally, and then throughout the world. And so some different places that he discovered within his research that he thought would be similar to what we are looking for, including Al Johnson's up in Door County, the Independence Beer Garden in Pennsylvania, and then Odanen in Berlin, Germany. Kind of going with the Dare Wolf theme. So then he just goes through what he likes about these things. You know, programming elements to Al Johnson's, the open spacing, ADA compliance, some of the constraints, the cultural theme that requires future renovations and additions, making sure those are compliant with Swedish tradition, weather permitting, limited opportunities, just because of the size and the structure of the log exterior. And then just a little history on that. Not sure if he actually went to these places, but it sounds like a good time if he did. The Independence Beer Garden in Pennsylvania. I like how he includes, you know, some activities here in the pictures, and then looking at those opportunities and constraints there, doing more research on what you can see doing this. He said that the placemaking is at the forefront of this design, and I think that that's kind of what we're looking for from what we've heard from this committee. And then moving on to the facility in Germany. Use of raw materials, I know, was something that he was interested in, but this also goes into industrial heritage and unused space as they built this facility. It's in an industrialized setting, so greenery was a difficult thing to implement, which we may see just being downtown. It's hard. Some plantings can do good and some cannot. So then he moves forward into our project and the region and does just a regional analysis, the ecology of the community and the county, just an analysis of the land types that we are here in New London. We have the Mosquito Hill Plains, the Partridge Lake Plain, and the Manawha-Fortinville Morans. And we find that a lot being kind of restrictive sometimes with just the type of soil and land that we have here. Many of you know that we're kind of built on a marsh. We're low in the floodplain, so this is kind of what he is learning through there. Goes through the regional floodplain analysis, which is pretty critical for the long-term success and endurance of these designs, he stated. And then he goes into the community analysis. This was a diagram that was presented to us, and we sent over to him, just giving, you know, who we are as a community. Over 18.4% of us are over 65 plus, so we're a senior community at times, but there's also plenty, 60% of age is 18 to 65. The median age is 40, and the median disposable income is around 50 grand. So just kind of taking that all into consideration with the project. Continues on to the community analysis, what I spoke about, and then also goes into the site itself, the North Water Street Historic Corridor. Some of the things that he mentioned were the building codes and modified signage that must be approved by the city, making sure that obstructing or modifying the front faces of these buildings is not permitted, so that we can recognize and the significance and the character of the historic preservation of the buildings. and moves down and gets into the meat of the site. So, he talks a little bit about, Kim's portion of the project, how she is highly interested in working together to ensure a cohesive design that will accommodate the needs of the development, as well as the greater, New London community that is not necessarily frequenting the beer garden. So just leaving that space as an open community, part per se. Also noted that he, stated that he wants to increase the diversity while preserving the views of the river and the North Water Street, due to the work that was done on the back of the properties, on North Water Street. And it just goes through the existing conditions of North Water Street. And his goal is really to mesh the two into a cohesive downtown. So he goes through, then also the Berniger River Walk on the other side of the river and kind of making it like he wants the people that walk on the Berniger River Walk to see the North Water Street across the river and how beautiful it is. And then he goes into just the disconnectivity of the trail, and how it kind of, there's no connection between the Berniger River Walk and the New London, well, it's called the River Trail. It's just, and that is where the Wolf River Art League will be starting their, sculpture trail. He also goes into the SCS Swiderski property and the look of that. And then Dara Wolf. And the existing condition of the site, of the property in between the two buildings. All right. Before I go into the specific demands and considerations, is there any questions? All right, so this is kind of what he is recommending, and what we have here. Just going through the downtown district, he states that there's an excessive amount of surface parking lots and street parking, which I love to hear that because he's from central Chicago. He's from interstate, like downtown Chicago. So it's a different kind of thinking when you move to New London or come to New London. You're like, wow, look at all this parking. And in Chicago, it is a lot of parking for somebody. Just moving through. Just how everything, the way he looks at a way to move through this entire space, whether it be the parking lots to a potential memorial outdoor space that would be the head of the Berniger River Walk. He was thinking of possibly doing some sort of historic walk through there, starting with the Berniger Stone that gives a little history of the Berniger family in New London. And he really liked that and thought, you know, maybe there could be an addition to that. And then just connecting that river walk. So here's just an example, some examples of downtown historical plaque signage. He was very inspired by the downtown walking tour and thought that that information that the community was learning about through that should be maybe a permanent thing, which we all, he thought it was a great event. I thought maybe Christine would have came today, but I do want to make sure that she sees this and see that she definitely inspired him in that way, with a walkthrough museum and signage on the Pearl Street Museum corridor. Because as you know, she will be taking over that building once the library moves. So then here's concepts with the rustic age beer garden event space, the public gathering space, and then the memorialized river walk. So that's kind of, from Kim's space to the public gathering space in the middle of the two buildings, and then moving down towards the river to the river walk area.
Number one is just north of Kim's space. Is that right?
That's the space right below her, to the north, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
So actually, Kim's space is that whole thing,
right,
which would be in here.
Yeah.
Oh, Kim's space is the whole
So-
thing.
right, there will be outdoor space, right below.
So the building's right here. And then there'd be open space for events and other things.
Got
I
it.
think one thing to keep in mind, Mila did a great job, but one thing to keep in mind is that this is a school project. So there might be things that aren't perfect in here. I've seen, like, for example, and he had one aspect that he showed, this was public parking, and that's not public parking, it's sort of these things. So the things might not be perfect, but he did a really cool job just to give us ideas, so. Sorry, Ginger.
Thank you. All right, he did want us to preserve the natural look of the area, perhaps doing some more plantings, he called it a green infused corridor, and then the green museum corridor. As you can see by the pictures here, he likes to have that green space, which I love, and then a potential bridge boardwalk. He was thinking of doing that. If you'll see that map up there, the NL would then be right where Chad has his hand there. So that's that little inlet along the trail. And then just some more concepts, including, just reimagination of the naturalness of what he was thinking of, implementing seating, a guardrail, additional vegetation that would draw in more visitors to more frequent the area when exploring New London. Something just to note that during the time that he was looking through this, SCS was like in the messiest stage of their construction down there. So it was not a beautiful property to look at. And it still is in pretty rough shape. I have seen their design for their grounds, and it'll be beautiful. They do a great job, and if they live up to their concept that was approved, I think that this space will look very nice. Just going through, it's got a lot of little words. This is such small type, but just something that he mentioned was due to the site's unique location, it's important to amend the existing parking and vehicular circulation through the site. We did make note to let him know that we do need to keep that as a through drive, that's not going to be able to be closed off in between Longevity and State Farm, and that will still need to be public parking. So then the gathering space would be accessible from the parking behind. However, was doing a concept of a vertical screen for visual separation and placemaking, and would be critical in the orchestration of the comfort of the spaces. All right, and then in his second semester, that was all just what he did in his first semester. In his second semester, put together this site framework plan with the map, going through just different assets, designated cycle lanes, time restricted alleyway with an alleyway cafe, noting the pocket parks on North Water Street that I had dreamed about with him, and then just concluding that he wants to keep connectivity and transfer all around that entire kind of square of North Water Street to Wolf River Avenue to the space that is in between that. Lot more little writing. Just a couple, of the pocket park ideas, like, site focus area design and rationales, he calls it. You'll see a lot of natural space, a lot of natural look here. He goes through just really, nice drawings of what a pocket park could look like. This is a schematic drawing of the site in between, which is really nice.
Oh, I love that. I like that.
I love the natural border of the front, with the shrubs to the North Water Street. Pearl Street. The pergola is doable, and I would think fairly reasonably priced. A couple benches, couple trees, a walkway. I think that this is all definitely something that could be doable. He goes through the plantings. He even goes into species. This is really nice. This is what you look for in a design plan for a park. Recommendations of what do well in that area. And just the vision, it's really nice. This is something I really get into. And this takes a lot of research as well. Knowing that these things go well together and bloom in different time frames, so that you're not having your big bang in the spring and then it's completely dried out in the summertime. It's going to have spring plantings, summer plantings, fall plantings. He put a lot of thought and design into this. And also the height level of different things and the perennials, to make sure we spoke about, making this, we have a very small staff in the park, so I want to make sure that it's maintainable by our staff and we're not having to go out and plant annuals every year. Just going through once again what's healthy where in the ground. Floodplains. Here was his bridge design. This is something that would be really cool, but probably very pricey. I think that it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but probably it's millions of dollars. And it would be beautiful. So that would be coming, he's kind of got where it would come over and you can see the SCS building in the background there.
So that would be on the
On
north side.
the river trail,
Okay.
going over that little inlet. Yep. So just kind of goes through what I just went through, more of a narrative. The phases of the project, future design and impact, opportunities for grants, and he's right, there are many out there. Just everything, he covered everything that he would need, that you would want to. I like his self-reflection. He said, at first I thought the scope of the project would be smaller than its result and focus on more of a pocket park-like space. And I know that when he came back to me the second time after he had proposed his initial thoughts to his instructor, the instructor said, we need to expand the area. And that's where he came back with the North Water to Berniger River Walk to expanding to the river trail that crossed the river or across Shawano Street. So it's really the entire downtown area. So Like I said, this is in your packets, so please, if you're interested in any more of it, take a look at it, and dig through it. But if anybody has any further questions, be open to them. And I think we might continue this conversation in the next agenda item, so.
Again, just reflecting that this was a student project. It was great to partner up with a student for a project like this. Again, some of the things aren't quite perfect in there, like you showing parking in different spots. I want to point out that anybody that saw this for the first time online, no, we do not own all the property in between Longevity Fitness and Wolf River Pub. So there are things that are conceptual in design. We don't own all that property. So, but I think one of the cool things is just to kind of have another point of view and get ideas. So I never would have thought of putting a bridge over the little gap over by River Trail Park. Yep, something different. So I think what we do is we just take this and reflect if there's any ideas we can grab from this and then continue our plans for developing more placemaking spaces. So.
Comprehensive designs for parks can cost up to over $50,000 to $60,000. So to have this in our pocket for free is really worth its weight in gold. And having a younger individual giving his perspective and a inner city Chicago kid's perspective of a rural community is really interesting too, and not something that we might have gotten through this experience. So I think that it was definitely worth it.
I don't see it in our,
Yeah, I was just gonna
packets.
say it's not in our packet.
A way that we
Oh,
could
it's
get.
not.
It wasn't in the packet because the
highlighted.
file was too large, but if you
Okay.
go to my memo, there was a link in the memo that you can click and download.
Okay.
I couldn't just email it because it wouldn't be emailed. You can see how many pages he's got. That thing is big. But if you go to my memo, the link is there
Okay.
that you can download it.
I see.
And, this is really awesome to talk about. Is there a way we can move forward with possibly doing a pocket park in that area? I mean,
Like I said,
That's a
we'll
great
continue on
segue.
this conversation in the next agenda item.
funds a little bit to help it get going and partner with the park
Mhm.
and rec.
Great segue. How about we go to the next agenda item? No,
Okay.
perfect. This is good.
Okay.
Yep.
Before we move on to the next agenda item, do we have any other comments, questions, concerns for the placemaking project information? I'm excited to sit down, and I haven't had the opportunity to read through it all. I just skimmed through it and it's exciting.
The tiny print is worth reading.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tiny, but it's worth it.
Thankfully I can zoom.
Yeah, I had to. not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question. I know we got the new grant writer online and everything, and there's a ton of stuff probably happening there, and there's assignments there and everything. But that document you have, Ginger, would probably be one of the first documents I would give that grant writer
Sure,
and just say, don't let this get buried.
right.
She knows about the project, concept and her orientation, so, but I agree.
But, I've seen over the years, there was lots of nice things presented like that throughout the years, and then they get put in a file
Shuffle.
cabinet. So it's nice to have some fresh eyes looking at that
Yeah.
also, and keep it in the back for the goals as they look for things.
Yeah.
Not like there's gonna be ever a shortage of things to work on.
Right, and that's just the caveat that I always give is don't forget that we have hundreds of acres of parkland already and facilities that we need to maintain. So anything additional will always cost more money, and grants don't cover manpower. I have 3 full-time staff on my parks crew, so just that's always my caveat. But there's always money funding from grants for the actual projects themselves, so.
Definitely agree with the SV Suderska project and Kim's project. It's a good time to maybe stick a LAR foot in there a little bit too and spruce that up a little bit.
Yeah, agreed.
But one thing I was just kind of going through this, I was thinking about, is there any plans for parking on your location with the beer garden? Are you adding any stalls or is there any discussion about parking in that area? Cause there's not really a lot of parking.
Yeah, we're looking at how to utilize the north part of the so we do want to be looking at the farmers markets and stuff there, but now I want to go and kind of map it out, knowing that how our farmer market grew this year, that we're at like about 17 to 20 vendors, trying to be able to map that out and see what it looks like down there, and potentially to like drive-in stalls, like what are those called, like a corner stall, or like not like just a drive-in, just like a one-piece. To be able to do like a row of those at the most part. To help with not only our parking, but also.
Maybe on Smith Street going north, putting some stalls on the road. Is that something that is in the works or discussion?
It's not, but
Okay,
we got next steps, so
sure.
I love you guys are just throwing segues into the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, with all of the segues, let's go ahead and move into our next agenda item. So let's discuss the plans to apply for East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission Strategic Planning and Revitalization for Communities Program. That is a mouthful.
Yes, it is. So moving forward, so we've got some ideas. So how do we move forward to like Tim's suggestions about, let's get something developed, what about the parking, things like that. Another free opportunity that we have to continue our discussion before we actually go to, eventually probably some paid type of architectural services. East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission has a program. It used to be called Technical Assistance Program, which we've taken advantage of in the past. If you remember in 2022, we had a one-day event where East Central pays for bringing in a professional architect engineer to have we facilitated for the day. We had some community input for the day, and then they went back in the afternoon and did a bunch of designs, and then they presented it in the afternoon.
Chad, just a real quick question. Was that the one that gave the walkway on the?
Yeah,
okay,
the cantilever.
Thank you.
boardwalk along the-
Yeah, the boardwalk. Thank you.
Correct. That spurred the ideas of the boardwalk, and then also spurred the idea of taking St. John's Park and turning
Turning.
it so that you had green space on North Water Street, because currently the way it's designed, you just got parking lot.
Right.
So that spurred that idea of that, which we were starting to implement, because during the North Water Street project, we only put one driveway in. With Ginger's got some marching orders in the future to try to figure out and design the park with that. So that was spurred from that free planning aspect. So they changed the name. It's no longer a technical assistance program. Now they're calling it the Strategic Planning and Revitalization for Communities Program. And I'm going to kick it off to Ginger as well, that we're going to task Ginger with applying for this grant again, so that we can have, if we are awarded, we can bring them in and get more free ideas to move forward for the next phase. So I don't know, Ginger's got anything to?
I don't really have anything to update, just that they're the ones that kind of said, hey, you should apply for this. And so knowing that we're working on our comprehensive outdoor plan right now, tagline, please make sure that you fill out your survey, community surveys that are out there. Maybe Chad can put the QR code up on the screen at the end of the meeting today. They know that we're wanting to improve things in New London. And so I think that if we apply for this, we would get it. I would hope. But just talking with Joe there, he said that this is a great program. I think that it's fun that its acronym now is SPARK. Because I think that's their plan, is to, get a spark into your community and kind of make it, ignite. So that's what we're trying to do here in New London, right?
Mhm.
So.
But to continue our discussions, we can, if they have the same format as last time, they just bring community people in to kind of talk about different ideas. We would say, hey, we want to maximize parking. Hey, we want to, maximize community space, placemaking. Incorporate some of those things together, and then the architect, engineer, landscaping planner would just kind of put something together.
Like in the day of, right?
day of.
Yeah.
It's
So
a one-day
really-
event. just to kind of give us more ideas, and then we can take Milo's project and this project and take that to the next step of,
Right.
moving forward with some type of planning aspect of that, so.
Yeah, so my thoughts right now are to trying to guide him away from North Water Street a little bit more so that he doesn't just come up with another boardwalk. And kind of push him over to Pearl Street and that corner of our little land that we've been talking about. So that's my hopes right now.
So yeah, so hopefully we get some more ideas and some little bit more formed ideas for that area, because Milo had to kind of expand his program a little bit for his project, but hopefully this kind of brings it back down to that area, knowing what Kim's gonna put in there and the new apartment complex and all those other elements to try to put it together.
Do you know what the timeline is from application date to when we would find out?
When was the application deadline? I know
June. End of June.
that down.
Is it in the packet? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
It should be right in there.
There you go. July
Yeah.
3rd.
There we go.
I put end of June in my calendar because July
Always
3rd
fun.
is not. No, those couple days don't even count.
Awesome. I hope we get it. Thank you for applying for it.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Any other questions, comments, concerns from anybody here? I'm very pie in the sky over all of this. I would love to see the boardwalk. I would love to see Milo's stuff. I would love to see something, I mean, my goodness sakes, that would take a decade or better to get done, but wouldn't the Wolf River just look fantastic as a result?
Yeah.
Would
We need
just
some
really,
community champions to help make that happen.
Absolutely.
Whether it be through donations or, things like that. We've got a lot going on right now. I don't want to put the Newton Blackmore Trail bridge in my pocket and forget about that. Like
Right.
John had mentioned, big things, come up in meetings and then they go away. And that's a project that I'm really focusing on right now. I want to see through as well. So there's
Exactly.
so much going on. Yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
like I said, we need champions in this community to help us with that.
And I think by talking about it and getting ideas out there, those champions will come forward.
Yep. Yeah.
And the grant opportunities will stumble across them now. So it's all very exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I did get people from Black Creek traveled to Newton Blackmore, and they were very happy, and they're like, how soon is it getting into New London? We're working on it. We're working on it. So yeah, lots of that was a nice comment to hear.
Yeah.
So. Okay, we can move on then to updates and reports, business updates, April.
All right, I just have a few updates for you. The first being a new business on Shawano Street over by Subway. Forgive me, I don't know the full name. I think it's the Vapex shop. This new vape shop that opened in Suite 5 in early May, so check that out. The business that closed that we just did a ribbon cutting for, Victory Lane Diecast, is directly behind Subway. Nate is hanging it up. He's in Suite 4, so that office is available. If you're interested, that'll be listed on the chamber website. If you can help me spread the word on that. The next business closing, the Pam and Yasha owned the building where Olive and Rose was, so she expanded her boutique from Appleton into this space, but they have since sold that property. And it sounds like the new owner has some exciting details coming soon, so hopefully I'll be able to report on that in the next couple months. I know Chad has reported on Labrador Lodge a couple times, but we went out and did a visit with them, and they are looking for a temporary space. I'm just trying to get the word out for him. He's hoping to develop in our area, but he's looking for a 2 to 3 month lease option. He has 2 labs that are due in July, correct?
Something like that.
So he definitely doesn't want to interrupt the operation. So we're looking for some sort of garage area or any area that's a good fit. There's obviously going to be some barking dogs, but 600 to 800 square feet is what he's looking for. So I'll spread the word on that. Oops, just move forward a little too quickly on there. Everyone in the room is invited to a ribbon cutting / grand opening for Kane Company. They just opened a few months ago at 315 South Pearl Street. So on June 5th, they are going to have a ribbon cutting at 2 p.m. with an open house to follow. There's got all kinds of fun stuff happening with like permanent jewelry and a flower bar and some other fun stuff. So definitely check that out. They've done a really, really great job of really bringing that place to life. So I really encourage you to stop in and check that out. Commercial listings, lots of action since last time we met. We have, I think I reported Hillby's is sold. Kurt Dahl has decided to remove his listing, so that remove listing is the Subway and the new development. We have a offer that went through at the former Babes. I will be able to share details on that very soon. The 307 West North Water Street is the Olive and Rose building that I just mentioned. And then also the Wolf River Plaza is now going to be known as the New London Commons. That is sold as well. And I talked to the realtor from the theater, and she's got a few people that had walked through in the last weekend. So I wanted to share that as well. Any questions?
The Wolf River Plaza, going to be called the New London Commons. Are they doing anything with that space? What are they?
So the new owner met with April and I before he did purchase it, just kind of got some more information about what's going on in the community and things. Does plan on fixing it up, get the facade looking a lot better. He wants to fill it up. He did take our comments to heart about when the last owner came in, they jacked up the rates and everybody bailed the ship. So he was taking that to heart to bring down the rates again to try to fill it up. So
he flew in from LA and you want to meet with us. You want to know why the building was empty, what needed to happen to bring people back. And I don't know, he's just been very responsive and unlike any other outside investor that I've dealt with. So
yep.
I'm excited to see the improvements.
So from California, but he has contacts or a real estate agent in Wausau that's working, as a local person in this area. So time will tell.
Any other questions for April? Okay, moving on to the city administrator's report. Chad.
I got 2 quick things. One I had in my packet, in my memo. Plans are underway for replatting the 10 acres that are on the east side of New London. It's over by East Ridge. I can bring up the map real quick, just to kind of show you guys what's going on. Over on Alcan Road, and this is House Road here. Let's get this refreshed. This is House Road, and then it turns into Alcan. You can see this area, 10 acres here, is platted off, but it was never developed. This roadway here that was called Bory Road, the new owner is having this replatted. So the new road's actually going to come out in the aerial photo, I think, of that. So the new road's just going to be a U. It looks like we're going to see availability for about 21 lots there. So another nice housing development in New London, but the council just went through the process of vacating Glory Road, and this is going to be called Irish Meadows. That's going to be the new subdevelopment. So that's in the works. The other thing I didn't have in my memo was that some of you are aware that the city has been given an interest to purchase land from a company called Avangrid. They are the solar company that's working on a solar farm project north of town. They have interest in getting their transmission lines from the solar power farm to New London and then through our industrial park to the substation, the ATC substation that is on the eastern edge of our industrial park. They're making us some proposals about purchasing some land and maybe having some easements. Moving forward with that, they are offering an open house. I don't have the advertise it for it yet, but if people are interested in knowing more about that project, they are planning an open house on Monday, June 16th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Senior Center inside the Washington Center. Again, that's an opportunity to kind of hear about more of their plans and ask questions. But again, Monday, June 16th, 4 to 7 p.m. If you're interested in more information. And that's all I have.
Can you go back to the development on Alcan Road?
This one?
Yeah, can you go back to the map, GIS map?
So here's one that you can kind of see. It doesn't show very well, but then the
Yeah, well, I was
GIS
actually wondering, wasn't there some kind of a development plan for the property to the west of that? Actually, to the west of House Road, I think.
So right in here?
No, to the west of House Road, that open.
Oh, this one.
Swiderski's property.
Yeah,
It's correct. That is owned by SC Swiderski, and that's going to be their second development once they kind of finish up this one. I have had a couple of different conversations with them about this. They don't have anything firm yet, how the layout is, what they're planning on putting in there. But initially, they're talking about either some rentals, some condo situations, and then some single family housing. Very up in the air, very, nothing's set in stone yet, but not so much apartments like they've done. They're throwing some ideas around, mixing it up a little bit. So either townhouses or condos or something, and then some single family housing in there as well. So I don't want to speak on their behalf yet because they're still kind of in their investigation phase and what they want to do. But yes, that is a Swiderski development that they're looking at developing that after their downtown projects kind of finishing up.
has the new owner of the old City Hall building talked about any work that they're gonna do, improvements on that building? Do you know what their plans are?
We have a development agreement with him, the new owner, and he's supposed to be putting in so much money per year to kind of bring it back to life. He did spend, and he's supposed to give me a report on what he did, but the east side, I don't know if you noticed, there was some people there. He had some park out, he was doing some tuck pointing and some other repairs, so we started with that. He did tell me that there's some need for some roofing repairs, so that's on his radar. But yeah, he's spending probably more, investing in it more than the last owner did, which is good.
The roofing might be complete.
Is it?
They had some cranes and they had a lot of people there for about a week putting up sheeting and I mean like the new OSB board, and I think that might, I guess I don't know the scope, but there was a fair amount of activity there.
Okay.
And there's plumbers there right now. There's a fair amount of activity there.
But it's good to see that someone's putting some investment into the property. Which is really good.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of work around that building, more in the short amount of time that he's owned it than I have seen there in the entire time I've traversed the downtown. So, yeah. And I do know that, like, even on the inside, they were doing, he did a lot of work on the inside with the woods and the floors and the different things in there. And then he closed it off so that people couldn't just randomly be in and out of the building. So, yeah, there's been a lot going on over there, a lot.
Any other questions on my report?
Okay, moving to potential agenda items for future meetings. we wanted to introduce our new grant writer for New London, Peyton, but she was not able to make it tonight, so we have her on the agenda for next meeting,
As of now, she plans on coming for the June meeting, yes.
for the June meeting, yes, okay. Then the hotel feasibility study is still pending out there, transportation updates, childcare updates, housing updates. And obviously, any of these placemaking and the strategic planning for our community. Anything else we want to have added to our agenda? Okay, reviewing the next meeting date would be the fourth week would be June 24th. Any questions or concerns about that date? Okay, hearing none, that's our plan. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Fabulous. Adjournment at 6:16. Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.